Let's make adobo! Adobo is one of the most popular Filipino dishes out there. It's a saucy dish made with soy sauce and vinegar, flavored with bay leaves, garlic, and peppercorn. Today I'm going to show you how to make the popular chicken adobo and the oh-so-flavorful pork adobo. Here are the ingredients we'll need. People have asked what brand of soy sauce and vinegar I use. Honestly, I just use whatever Filipino brands that I find at my Asian grocery store. The important thing for me is that I'm using the Filipino brand because it adds to the authentic flavor of the dish. Let's start by making chicken adobo. First, in a pot, put 2 pounds of chicken. You can use any cut of the chicken you'd like. Today I'm using 2 thighs, 2 wings, and 2 legs. Then we'll add 6 cloves of garlic that's been roughly chopped, 1 tablespoon of peppercorns, 5 bay leaves, 6 tablespoons of soy sauce, 6 tablespoons of vinegar, and half a cup of water. Now, some people put all of this in a container and let it marinate overnight, or in the fridge for a few hours. But if you're short on time like I usually am, this is what you can do. Let's cover it and put it on the stove. Put it on the stove and bring it up to high heat so it comes to a boil. Once it has come up to a boil, let's just make sure everything is incorporated and well combined. Now we can also add some more flavor, like a teaspoon of sugar. Let's let the chicken simmer on this side for 10 minutes. Now after 10 minutes, let's flip the chicken over. By letting the chicken simmer in the sauce now, we're allowing the flavors to develop into the chicken. It's taking the place of marinating it in the fridge for a while. Okay, after about 10 minutes, we're actually gonna go ahead and take out the chicken. And we'll take out the liquid from the pot as well. Now in your clean pot, go ahead and add some oil, and we're going to sear the outside of the chicken. Let's add 4 cloves of garlic. Then let's add our chicken. Then flip it over. After about 1 minute, we can add the sauce back. Now we're just going to let the sauce simmer and reduce a little bit. Now is also a good time to taste and see if it needs to be adjusted. If it's too salty, add more water. If it needs a little bit of flavor, add some salt. I'm going to add about half a cup more water and bring it up to a boil. And now it's perfect. This is our chicken adobo. Okay, so we just learned how to make the chicken adobo. Now let's learn how to make pork. It's all the same ingredients, but the steps are a little bit different since the pork needs a little bit more time to tenderize. To make pork adobo, let's start with 2 pounds of pork. You can use any cut of pork. I'm using pork belly. Pork belly is so flavorful. Then add 6 cloves of garlic, 5 bay leaves, 1 tablespoon of peppercorn, 6 tablespoons of soy sauce, 6 tablespoons of vinegar, and 2 cups of water. So you'll notice we added more soy sauce, vinegar, and water to the pork recipe because we need to let the pork simmer for longer. Again, you are welcome to let this marinate in the fridge for a few hours to let the flavors really develop. Even letting it sit out on the counter for about 15 minutes before you start cooking it will really help the flavors develop into the pork. After about 15 minutes of letting it sit on the counter to marinate a little bit, I'm going to put it on high heat and cover it so it can come to a boil. Now that it has come to a simmer, I'm going to add a tablespoon of sugar and stir it all together. The sugar helps balance out the flavor of the vinegar and soy sauce. Now the pork is going to take about 45 minutes to an hour to tenderize. I'm going to turn down the heat to medium or medium-high and let it simmer, and I'll check on it in 45 minutes. You'll see that the sauce will have also reduced. So it's been about 45 minutes and this is what our pork adobo looks like. You can see that the sauce has reduced. And I want to do two things now. First, let's taste the sauce. We can add some water if it's salty, or if it needs some more flavor, add some more salt. I'm gonna add just maybe half a cup more water, which is fine because it still has some time to reduce anyway. Make sure to stir it. And I also just want to check to see how tender the meat is. To do that, let's use a fork. We're going to poke one of the pieces of meat. If it goes in easily, it means it's really tender. If you're meeting some resistance, it means it could still use a little bit more time. I think it could use maybe 10 to 15 more minutes, so I'm gonna let it simmer. And there we go. Our pork adobo is done. Okay, so let's go ahead and try our two different adobos. Here we have our chicken adobo, and here we have our pork adobo. Remember, for both, we use the same ingredients, but the difference with the chicken was that we let it simmer for a little bit, then we seared the outside of the chicken, then we let it simmer some more until the sauce reduced. Then with the pork adobo, we just put everything in the pot, let it simmer for 45 minutes to an hour until the sauce reduced, and now it's this yummy, flavorful dish. And of course, we have to eat it with rice. Let's start with our chicken adobo. I got a chicken thigh here. And you have to pour the sauce over the rice. The sauce is so flavorful. You can taste all of the garlic, and the bay leaves add a nice deep flavor in there. The chicken is so tender and the flavor goes really deep into the meat. So good. Honestly, on weeknights when I'm short on time, my go-to meal is adobo for my family. It is so easy to whip up and I always have the ingredients in my pantry. Now let's try the pork adobo. I have a new plate of rice. One of the differences with pork adobo is that it's a lot oilier because of the fat from the pork, but also it makes it very flavorful. Let's give it a taste. You know, chicken adobo is good, but I think my favorite is pork adobo. The fat from the pork just makes it so flavorful. Of course, you don't want to eat it too often, especially if you're trying to watch your cholesterol, but having it once in a while is such a great treat. Be careful with the peppercorns though, it's tough when you bite into one. Here are some fun facts about adobo. The cooking method of adobo dates back to pre-colonial times, when indigenous cuisine used vinegar and salt to preserve food in the tropical climate. Then in the 1500s, Spanish colonizers called the dish adobo, which means marinade. Nowadays, adobo is considered to be one of the national dishes of the Philippines, and there are countless variations all throughout the country. Some prefer to add sugar for a sweeter adobo. Others add coconut milk for a creamier adobo. Others use vegetables or hard-boiled eggs instead of meat. And some modern recipes shred up the adobo and turn them into tacos. Adobo is so popular in the Philippines that some local snacks like nuts, chips, and noodle soups are adobo flavor. Lastly, adobo is the go-to dish for traveling because it doesn't need refrigeration and the vinegar keeps bacteria away. Also, March 15th, 2007 is Adobo Day. It's the day when the word adobo was added to the Oxford Dictionary. To this day, adobo is an iconic symbol of Philippine cuisine. So which is your favorite kind of adobo? Pork, chicken, or another kind? Tell me in the comments. Paalam!